Hey you guys, do you want to see my brother change his torque converter and do his first burnout? Let's go.
Now that we've got the truck up on the lift, let's actually get underneath it and see what you actually have to take apart to do this job. So, obviously, you're gonna have to take the drive shaft out. It's just 4 bolts. You're gonna wanna put a Ziploc baggie zip tied over the tail shaft not to lose any transmission fluid. You're gonna have to disconnect the transmission cross member, bolts into the frame both sides. You'll also have to disconnect the torque converter from the flywheel. We have a really special tool to show you how to do that. You'll have to get up in there and get the bolts that bolt the transmission to the motor apart. And then of course the transmission cooling lines. It's easier to take them off the radiator than actually get up way up inside here and try to get them off of the transmission and deal with that nightmare. So again, you're only sliding the transmission back about 6 or 8 inches. Speedometer cable will have to be disconnected. And then the other disconnects will be at the top. You may be able to get the top bell housing bolts from the top of the motor while you're up there disconnecting the TV cable, which will go into an explanation on how to reset the TV cable. And the dipstick, which bolts to the upper right hand bell housing bolt also. So let's get into this thing. Look at that beautiful Holly 600. I can hear it now. Whoa, slurp, slurp. I'm taking every bit of this teenager's gas money. Slurp, slurp. Anyway, so I wanted to get a little bit more in depth with the TV cable adjustment. So you can see right here, this is your TV cable. That's the adjustment button. This is your throttle cable on top. Don't mess with that. The TV cable, you can see it's got a little bit of slack in it. I've already marked mine with a silver Sharpie right here because this truck shifts perfectly. If you reach down here and press this button, you can manipulate, well, maybe it's gonna be hard with one hand, but you push this button, you can pull this shaft in and out. So if your truck is shifting perfectly, or your Camaro, whatever you're working on with a 700R4 in it, make sure you mark that so you can put it right back once you reconnect everything. That controls your shift points, and it will also damage your transmission if it's not adjusted correctly. There is a procedure, they're all over the place online, on how to initially set for driving, and then you click it a couple clicks either way to get your shift points at the right mile per hour. Like I said, this truck shifts perfectly. I think 1 to 2 is at 18 mile an hour, 2 to 3 is at like 35. Yeah, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, overdrive kicks in basically when you let off, back and forth. But long story short, this truck shifts perfectly. We're not going to mess with that. So make sure you mark that if your vehicle is shifting correctly. If not, I can put a link in the tab below to the setup procedure. These are the transmission lines that go up to the radiator for cooling that I was talking about. So you can see there's one there, there's one down there lower. I highly recommend a line wrench. This one actually takes a, let's see what size this is. Yes, so this actually takes a 1/2 inch. This will keep you from destroying these fittings, which I've seen them to the point where the radiator has to be changed. Definitely the line, you don't want to mess with this. It's a pain in the butt. So get yourself some line wrenches, get some penetrant on there. And I've actually had luck tightening just a tiny bit first to break them free before loosening. Try to help you from any problems from there. As far as the rest of the motor, the top bolts, sometimes they're easier to reach from up top. A C10's a kind of a pain in the ass because the motor sits so low. You're always reaching for everything, but on some cars it's just easier to get those two top bolts right over the fender. So depending on your application, you may want to try that. So when you go to get your torque converter bolts out, you can see one right there, and you can see that the other bolt is way up there and unreachable. So this is where that special tool I was talking about comes into play. You want to show us it? So this is called a flywheel rotation tool. Nathan's going to show us how to use it. So you can see it clicks onto the flywheel, allows you to rotate the motor around, and you can see it'll bring the next bolt right down to where you can get to it. So if you don't have one of those, you may need to borrow one. That'll help you a lot in that respect. Oh yeah, some dirty, greasy mom love. Ew. Oh, welcome to the party. All right, so far we've got our highly scientific prop job on the transmission, holding it up out of the mount. We've also got half the bolts out of the world's most over-engineered transmission crossmember I've ever seen. So we're just about ready to drop the transmission crossmember out, and we'll be able to slide this transmission back and hopefully swap out this converter finally. Alright, so putting it back in, huge pain in the butt, but we've got it attached. Now, reassembly is just hooking up the TV cable, setting your adjustment, putting the dipstick back in, hooking up the train cooler lines, hooking the converter back to the flex plate, and putting the drive shaft in. So we showed you guys that coming apart. You don't really need to see how that goes back together. So are you ready? Sure. All right, you want to fire this up and get it out of here, and we'll take it on a test drive.
All right.
Take off down the road now and see how this works. Don't kill successful converter swap. Once again, do not do that. Pay somebody to do that for you always, always, always. Thanks for watching. We're going to have all kinds of great content coming up in the future. Fuel injection tank installs, disc brake swaps, all kinds of cool stuff for you guys to watch and learn something or just be entertained. So make sure to subscribe. Make sure you like the video. That allows us to keep doing this for you guys. Alright, he's going to attempt his first burnout ever with his new converter. Not bad for a first burnout attempt ever in your life.
Huh? Tell me. You gotta tell me, kid. Is it yours? Is it yours? Is it yours? Oh. Let me go get a stick real quick.
What happened?